Hey guys, in this micro lecture, we're going to talk about the central nervous system. Now, the central nervous system is your brain and your spinal cord. Now, it is a highly technical division of the body, but we want to just talk very briefly about the different parts of it. Because if you have a patient who's developed some kind of damage to their central nervous system, it's always useful to be able to know what some of the signs and symptoms are, regardless of how complex the system is. So as we've said, the central nervous system, the CNS, is the brain and the spinal cord. On this image here, you can see the brain here. The spinal cord runs down through the spine, and then there's the actual vertebrae themselves. So notice how each of the vertebrae are given, first of all, they are broken into sections of cervical, so they're given their name. Then they are given a number. So within the cervical vertebrae region, there are 8 cervical bones. Then the next section, which is in the middle, which is the middle division, is the thoracic vertebrae, and there's 12. Finally, towards the bottom, there's the lumbar division, and there's 5 lumbar vertebrae. Now, not all texts consider the sacral part to be part of this system, but quite clearly here you can see it is. And the reason it clearly is that you can see that the vertebrae nerves, the nerves are still exiting the spinal cord all the way down to S5. So when we are considering treating our patients, we need to be mindful that if there's an injury in one of these areas, you're more than likely going to see different signs and symptoms depending on where the injury is. Now, just before the end of this micro lecture, I just want to show you over here on the right-hand side. For those of you who have heard that saying before, C345 keeps the diaphragm alive. Well, there's C345, and absolutely you can see why it keeps the diaphragm alive. Not only do these muscles innervate the diaphragm, which is the biggest muscle of respiration, but it also controls heart rate, shoulder movements, neck movements, and that's just between here. So this one here, this C1 to 4 covers these functions, whereas C4 to 6 cover heart rate. So it's actually C1 to 6. They're all really, really important. I mean, the reality is you could argue that all of this stuff's important, and not one part is any more important than the other. But it gives you an idea of what you're dealing with. And just moving down, and we've looked at some of the pretty important stuff here. C7 down to T1 is hand and finger movement. Sympathetic tone, including temperature regulation and trunk stability. And eventually, all of these individual nerves, when they break off and go through, they break off, as you can see here, and they move through the vertebrae, they end up in an end organ. In other words, they end in a certain part of the skin, and they are called dermatomes. So dermatomes really is for another lecture, but as you can see, T1 covers these regions and so on and so forth. So if you ever have any issues or challenges in these areas, you're relating it to these parts of the central nervous system. Okay, so that's a micro lecture on the nervous system. I hope you found it useful. My name's Sam Willis, and I look forward to speaking to you again shortly. Take care, guys.